This is Kim Meyer, host of Choose to Rise. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hi, everybody. This is Baxter Colburn from Public House Media. From all of us here at PHM, we'd like to thank you for your support and wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
This is Robert Gardner, host of Fantasy Wizards here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Fantasy Wizards, where we talk all about fantasy football. A new show comes out every Tuesday and Thursday night. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you'll never miss an episode of Fantasy Wizards. Thank you again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Happy New Year, sad old year. Welcome to Completely Serious. That catchphrase was sent to us by Phil Mickles' son, Fred Mickles. Thank you, Fred, for the submission and clarifying that you're the son of Phil Mickles. Welcome to this very special episode of Completely Serious. Today, and only today, because there will only be one day like today, we have the best clips from 2017. 18 total episodes. We're reliving the best, or at least the ones I could find on short notice. On today's episode, 10 clips. Which ones made the cut, you might ask? Well, since this is a show where we have fun and talk sports, I only picked the cuts that were the most fun and sports talked. I picked the segments that were sports and fun, funny sports, sporty fun, and funny sporty. Yes, on the show where we have fun and talk sports, these are the clips that had the most fun in talk sports.
Go with the discount double check. Go with the young guy who's taking the league by storm, and look for a team that's on its way back up.
The discount double check, has that ever made you want to buy insurance?
No.
You haven't? You've not bought after watching Roger to the discount double check?
Well, I will say I have some good car insurance right now, not with State Farm. But
where does that compare to the other dances in the NFL? The discount double check, and you've got the one where they spin the football and act like it's a fire. You've got the one where they point to the sky, then they just high five each other. What is the best celebration, and is the discount double check in the top three?
I don't know. I much prefer the dunking with the goalpost, because it's like, so you take one sport and you...
The crossover. It is an ode to a separate sport. It's kind of like in a TV show when, like, The Simpsons and Family Guy partner together and they do one episode. That's kind of what it's like when an NFL player dunks a football in the goalpost. You're like, oh, I wasn't expecting basketball today. And you get basketball in football, and it's an exciting moment for everybody, I think.
I'd like to see them do like a bunny hop.
Your whole life, you've been known as Kevin Jackman, and in that moment, your future could have potentially been changed, and you were thinking about that in a very important moment in your career where you're going on air in Chicago for the first time. That had to be an incredible moment for you.
It was so weird, and actually 3 weeks earlier when I was signing my contract, and I was going through the process because we're unionized, and we go through SAG-AFTRA and all this stuff, and they asked me, do you want to use your real name or do you want to use a fake name? And just for a hot second, I thought it'd be kind of fun to use like a performer's name, but no, I'm going to go with Kevin Jackman. And I thought, oh my gosh, this decision was just made for me.
Have you given thought to what your performer name would be if you did indeed use one?
Oh, my favorite TV show it was an NBC hit called Chuck. And Chuck was a spy, and his alias was Charles Bartowski. Actually, that was his name, and he went by Charles Carmichael. So I always thought maybe I would use something, either Charles or Carmichael, or some sort of alliteration to kind of give homage to that show. I loved that show.
I'm glad we're on the topic of your name, because I wanted to ask you, are you related to Hugh Jackman?
If I was, I would not be in America. I would tell you that. I'd be living down under with my extended family. No, I've gotten that question my entire life, and it's so funny because sometimes I can fool people. I really can. And I'll say, yeah, he's actually like a distant cousin, and it's my dad's side. And my dad is actually originally from overseas, but So I will fool somebody from time to time before I point out that Gullible is written on the ceiling.
Well, I'll have to talk to my producer then, because he gave me some faulty information.
Day at the ballpark, you need one guy to sign an autograph and be friendly, but you don't want to scare the kids. So a player needs to be friendly and not scary. Who do you pick?
Francisco Lindor loves the game.
Love it. He's not a scary guy. He'd be a perfect one.
Yeah, he's basically like a kid too, because he's not very big, but he hits home runs. He's one of the best shortstops, and he'll definitely take time for a kid. Or Tim Tebow. Can I go with Tebow?
He is a professional baseball player. I think that is a great pick. Both would be good.
All right, that's enough Tebow for this podcast,
sure.
Please.
Mark, on Completely Serious, we like to ask questions that are a little bit off the wall, and we'll close with this. I got one that's a little bit out there for you. It's a hypothetical question, and we like to give our guests pretty much no time to prepare for these. So I'm just, with that in mind, going to pose it to you and see how you do. We are coming up on Thanksgiving, and I want you to tell me if you could bring 3 players to a Thanksgiving dinner, who would they be and why? I'll give you some time to think by giving you mine. First, I'm going to go with Anthony Rizzo, because the Italian heritage probably is going to bring a tasty dish with him, or at the very least, if something goes wrong, he can whip up something new in the kitchen. Second, Javi Baez, because he has those lightning-quick hands, and if someone drops some food, he can probably grab it before it hits the carpet. And my third one, after Javi and Anthony Rizzo, is Carl Edwards Jr., because he's so skinny, I doubt he would really eat that much. Thus, there's more for everyone else. So my 3 would be, my 3 are Carl, Anthony, and Javi Baez. But if you could pick 3 Cubs players to bring to a Thanksgiving dinner, who would they be and why?
All right, I'm going to go with the first guy that comes to mind in this scenario would be Chris Bryant. And the reason why is because he is over-the-top polite. He wouldn't make a fool of himself. Everybody would like him. I could see him leading the Thanksgiving prayer. He would just be delightful. I could see him bringing several side dishes as well, like recipes of his own that he had been, looking at, online or whatever.
Oh, so sure. Pinterest recipes? Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Like Chris Bryant, he would just be so, like, he would work the room, he would talk to everybody, he'd probably sign autographs for my family members, he'd be an easy get. Like, I wouldn't have to worry about him in any way, shape, or form. I think I would also like to have Kyle Schwarber there, just because I want to see that guy attack a turkey.
Yeah.
I think it would be fun to see, because I could see him, with the apron, carving the turkey and eating the fat. And going to town on a leg. So I think that would be really interesting. And then I think that, now this one's a little bit alternative, I would say. I would say that my third guy would probably be Justin Grimm, because he's a goofball. I don't know, a lot of people may not know that about him, because I know he's not the most high-profile guy, but he's a goofball. He's kind of funny. He's like a little kid. He could probably play with kids at the Thanksgiving party, and he would probably entertain anybody and be willing to have any kind of conversation, and he would make a lot of fun jokes.
So let me ask you this. So as a sports broadcaster, if you were in the position, would you rather have to do the post-game interview, just a one-on-one, just you and the coach, post-game interview with Greg Popovich or with Bill Belichick?
Ooh, good question. I'm going to go with Popovich, and just because Bill Belichick, he almost scares you with the way he is silent. He looks you in the eye. Popovich is free-spirited. He's fun-going, but he will give you that 1 or 2 short answer. And he might try to publicly embarrass you on TV. But there's also, with that embarrassment, an added level, I think, of tightrope walking excitement. Bill Belichick, it's almost like, I'm going to stare you to death, and you're going to go home and cry after this, and you won't know why. Popovich, I might get embarrassed, but it'll be a little fun, so I'll go with Pop.
Nice, I like that. Yeah, Belichick is pretty much just you talking to the wall. So Pop might give you something to work with. Okay, so after a big playoff baseball loss, who would you rather be waking up the next day? Would you rather be Yu Darvish or Steve Bartman?
Ooh, oh my gosh, that's a really tough question. I feel bad for Steve. And I think
Steve got a bad rap.
He did. He had it rough. He had it really rough. Yu is still going to wake up to a very nice free agency contract this year, despite pitching horrendously bad during the postseason. I'm gonna go with Darvish, just because I know I'm gonna wake up to that cash. A very close-minded and greedy answer on my part. I'm gonna go with Darvish because he makes more money. That is my answer.
So along those same veins, say you are Yu Darvish. Say you're any major professional sports star. Would you rather have to be forced? You're forced now. You have no option out of this. You have no way. Would you rather have to marry a Kardashian, or have an everlasting meme of you, like kind of in the vein of like crying Jordan?
Depends maybe on the Kardashian. Not Rob Kardashian, right? It'd be one of the girls.
Whatever your preference.
Oh, ever preference. Okay.
I don't assume your pronoun.
Sure. No, that's fair. That's good. We on Completely Serious. We like to not assume pronouns, so I appreciate that. Oh my gosh, I've always wanted a meme of myself. I'm gonna go with the meme in this one, even if it's a crying meme. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Super embarrassing.
Embarrassing.
Yeah. Okay.
The Kardashian one, the meme will die within maybe a decade. Kardashian stuff lives with you forever.
I'm glad you chose that way. One last one, if I could do one last one.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So you have to endure either 8 hours, just you locked in a room. You either have to endure. You're locked in a room 1-on-1. You have to endure 8 hours of a Stephen A. Smith rant.
I'm already picking the other option, but go on.
Or you have to endure a week where Jim Nance follows you around speaking only in Masters Tournament Jim Nance golf voice. Just narrating everything you do. Just,
man.
Hello, friends. We're here in Ryan's bathroom.
Oh, my goodness.
Just getting into the shower. Just got a fluffy towel hanging on the wall. It's purple in color. Just that.
I get it. Yeah. And Jim Nance is actually there. It's not like some disembodied voice following you. It's actually Jim Nance is there too.
He's there. He's doing it. Whatever you're doing, he's right there. 7 days. But that or 8 hours of Stephen A. Smith just nonstop. He's got an oxygen tank hooked up. He doesn't even need to take a breath. He's just going at it.
I think in both instances you go crazy. I think, and I actually don't mind Stephen A. But him yelling, I like his takes if I can read them. I like when I read a Stephen A. quote. Because then it makes sense, but when you actually hear the voice, it makes it much more difficult. Ooh, that's tough. I'm going to go with Jim Nance.
The record, the franchise record for the longest 2 games. We played 2 games north of 5 hours. One of them went into 6 hours. Both of them were 17-inning affairs. The longest one, I want to say 6 hours and 4 minutes, 8 minutes. The second longest game in Northwoods League history. It was in Rochester, and the lights in the outfield are on timers. And so they went out at 12 o'clock, and we had to wait for the lights to go back on. And then the league curfew says you can't start a game past midnight, but Rochester gave no at all.
If you could be a professional athlete in a non-traditional sport, so not like the baseball, basketballs, or footballs, or hockeys, what would it be? I bring up curling all the time on this podcast, so I think the listener might think that'd be my choice. But I think being a professional badminton player in China would be incredible because there's little stress on the body, and it's incredibly popular over in China. You'd be like the Michael Jordan over there in badminton. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But what would yours be? If you could be a great professional athlete in a non-traditional sport, what would it be?
So one of my best friends and former coworkers runs the Aberdeen, South Dakota curling club, and he started it from scratch, and I mock him for it relentlessly. So I can't go with that. I don't really have any issue with it. He's an easy target, and I like to make fun of him. And that was the thing that I do with love, of course, to give him a hard time. I think I would want to be good just in general at pool or ping pong because I am abominably bad at both. And it drives me nuts because I'm really competitive, and those are the things, we talked about playing old man basketball. I'm never going to be good at that again in my life. I could, in theory, be good at pool or ping pong when you go to the bar or go to somebody's house and have a table set up, but I'm really bad, and I try to do whatever I can to get out of playing because generally the only way I ever win is if somebody else hits in the 8-ball before when they're trying to, or they scratch on the 8-ball, I should say.
Hypothetical situation here. Your life is on the line, and you have to beat Bo Jackson in one of these 4 competitive things or things that can be competitive. And I want you to tell me which one you would pick and why, and I'll pick 2. I'm going to give you some time to think about it.
Option 1 is eating. Option 2 is ping pong. Option 3 is sheep herding. And option 4, because the topic always makes our way into this podcast, is curling.
I've never curled. My brother has, and I know it takes practice because you have to use like a PVC kickstand to start with.
Interesting.
And I'm bad at shuffleboard. Eating, I'm pretty good at, but he's an NFL player, so there's no chance because he eats to keep weight on. I don't. I weigh 140 pounds. But when I worked for the Pittsburgh Pirates down at their spring training home in Florida, I stayed in their dormitories on the campus of Pirate City, and they had a ping pong table there, and all of the Latin American players, for the most part Dominicans and Venezuelans, live in the dormitories as well, and they play their games in the morning in the Gulf Coast in the afternoons after they do their workouts and such. So when I was there and they were there, and the ping pong table was always available in the game room, you would play against them. So I know that my skill against professional athletes in ping pong is not where it needs to be. So I'm going to go with sheep herd of us is capable, and I've got a chance to maybe learn it quicker than he does.
I would say my favorites growing up, actually, I think in my 3rd or 4th grade yearbook, they had a section in the middle, and it said, my favorite TV show is, and I obviously wrote SportsCenter, my favorite TV star, and I wrote Rich Eisen was in there. He was my favorite TV star for a period of time, whatever it was. But as I got older, I just kind of looked at I kind of understood. I didn't always want to do TV. I kind of wanted to be a sports writer before I went to college.
Sure.
And, I still am a sports writer of sorts. But John Anderson, always been a favorite of mine as well. And I think there are different styles that I try to emulate and pull from without trying to do an impersonation. Like nobody wants to watch me try to be Stuart Scott or be Scott Van Pelt, So I think I've tried to just pick what I like. I mean, as far as guys that are on right now, guys and girls who are on now, I mean, I love that they call it the 1 a.m. Sports Center. I'm in Central Time, so it's midnight with Neil Everett and Stan Barrett. Those guys, they just crack me up. And I think what Scott Van Pelt's done on Sports Center has really kind of adjusted the focus of what Sports Center needs to be for people in their 20s that are staying up late and watching. But outside of ESPN, my favorite guy going right now probably is Kevin Burkhardt on Fox Sports. You've seen him a lot in the playoffs doing the pre- and post-game shows, and I think he's a fantastic play-by-play guy for football and baseball. So he's somebody I pay a lot of attention to, and I really, really respect the work that guy puts in.
Thank you to everyone on the podcast. Jeffrey Clark from Shaw Media, Jared Schlensky from the Gary South Shore Railcats, Kevin Jackman from 780 WBBM, Spence Siegel from the Fort Myers Miracle, Mark Grody, Cubs broadcaster, Joel Gadet from Ball State, Logan Anderson from ESPN 1570, and our sports guy, Chris Ackerman. I hope you have a wonderful new year, and we'll talk to you next week and next year. Yes, we will. Don't doubt me. I know I promise I'll